So when I was in E4, I was like, all right, I want to go to Ranger School. And they said, you can't go to Ranger School, man. You're not a combat MOS. You're not a 11 Bravo. You don't have any background. And I was like, man, okay, well, what can I do? They said, you can be a Green Beret. And I was like, all right, let's do that. So in 1995, I went to selection. I was in Germany at the time, and I was a corporal. So I was young, inexperienced, and I went through selection, and all they told me was like, hey, if you don't quit, the probability of you getting selected is very high. And that's all I knew. And everybody else, a lot of guys were coming from Ranger Battalion, 11 Bravos. They had a lot more experience. So selection process was rough, but, physically, I was a runner. I had a lot of good physical advantages. But so I went through just fine. And then after airborne school, I went back to my unit, went to airborne school and started the Q course. And I know, Marcus, you're an 18 Delta. So that's what I thought I wanted to do, right? Well, they didn't think I was smart enough to do that. I was an 18 Bravo. So I was a weapons sergeant.
Right, yeah. Don't worry. I didn't think I was smart enough either. Freaking course is impossible. I love it, but don't get me wrong. I love being a bastard to the Army guys. I mean, it's paid off so many times having that qual. God, back it up to when you're talking about going into selection, when it's like, hey, man, just don't quit. Because I think about that now that we're older. And you got those young guys in there, man, and I'm starting to remember what I felt like before I went in, how cool that was. I think that's the best part about when we get older, is like you start to look back and reflect, like, oh, yeah, man, because the old timers, the Vietnam guys would come up to us and be like, man, you guys are badass at what you're doing, you're freaking rock and rolling. And they were like, man, we think that about you guys, that you guys kind of paved the way, man. We're just in here starting to widen that thing a little bit. But talk about, because I remember walking into selection the first time, or they're like, hey, man, all you do is just don't quit. I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, I had no idea the depth of where we were, what was going to happen. And then you just like, you have to think about that never quitting stuff all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, every freaking day someone was crushing your soul. I mean, one of my instructors, honestly, he had that red pen. He's like, my job is to spend all the ink on that paper. I'm going to make this sucker bleed. Like it was red paper. and I wasn't even there. I was trying to become a medic. Or, I was supposed to be there. That was cool. But it didn't matter. It automatically became a selection. If you're in that freaking program, there ain't no, it's easy. There's no lane like that. It's hard for everybody.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Hard for freaking everybody, man. And you know what that does, man? That kicks out any kind of animosity. It's like every person had to go through that crap.
I think it's kind of an advantage in a way because, like, I knew I wouldn't quit. I was like, you're going to have to kill me to put me out of it. Like,
so that's what I said too. Same thing.
I didn't want to go back to my unit and be that guy. There's a lot of pressure because when you're leaving to go to selection, if you wash out, you got to go back to where you came from. If you're lucky, and those guys, that's such a letdown. I was like, man, I do not want to go through that. So that kind of motivated me a little bit, but also when people quit, it was like, I kind of fed off that energy. I love watching people break because it kind of was like, hey, that's one less guy I have to worry about. I know a certain amount of people are going to make it, so
I think that might've been a little bit of the intimidating part in the beginning too. Cause you saw the guys that washed out. Like normally they quit when you're not looking, but there were some that would you be like, man, dude, I thought for sure that guy was.
And they make a show out of it.
They make a show out of it. And so you kind of,
yeah.
That's why we learn to keep moving.
Right.
It kind of takes what presents some problems when we become a civilian. When in any other kind of capacity, you want to show that nerd. But with us, it's like, hey, man, because quitting is an option. But so I guess in the back of our head we know that. But if you focus on it, then it'll consume you. We just kind of kept going to the point to where it's so ingrained in us. Anytime I'll talk about this when I'm on stage, I'm like, hey, man, every time somebody tells us to quit something, we block you out. Because our instructors would say that to us while guys were dying. We're like, no, I don't want to quit. Why? Where else am I going to go? I got nothing else. I can't go anywhere else. It's like I always treated it like that.
Right.
Like I was there. What the hell else am I going to do?
This is the Team Never Quit podcast. So buckle up, Buttercup.